Palantir stock is down 30% in just 5 days. What's going on? What should you do? I totally understand the questions. Sit back, relax, you've come to the right place. I'm going to explain everything in today's video. What's going on, what's happening, and what's next, and what should you do? Look, it's a big drop-off. A 30% decline in 5 days, it's no laughing matter. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to put a lipstick on a pig here. We all understand this is a painful event for somebody who opens the portfolio and sees a 30% negative. I get it. I totally understand the concerns of newer investors, of people who haven't lived through 2022. I get it. But bear with me here, because by the end of this video, you'll have all the information, all the data, and a peace of mind of exactly what to do in this situation. Now, let me tell you a story. I started investing in the stock back in 2020. When I started buying the stock, it was selling for $10 per share. And I kept buying all the way up to $35 per share, at which point the stock started collapsing and collapsed all the way down to $6. Initially, a lot of my former subscribers who have left me during that time because they thought I gave them bad information and bad analysis told me that I made a mistake in Palantir. And much like Kenny Rogers, I should know when to hold them and when to fold them. And then Palantir is a dud. It should be cut loose. No shame in admitting your mistakes, Tom. Admit it. You screwed up on Palantir. Just let it go. Move on. We'll still love you. And I've told those same people, look, short term, the market is extremely unpredictable. It is very hard to understand where the bottom is, where the top is. Short-term volatility is very, very hard to predict. The market cannot be timed. And of course, as now we know, in hindsight, ever since that $6, we have 20x all the way up to $120 per share at the peak just a few days ago. And even after the drop that we've seen over the past 5 days, after that 30% drop, we are still up 9 to 10x on our money because of what we've done in 2022 throughout the big drop. Because you don't want to be the same people who bought at 35, sold at 6, left the market, and watched Palantir go all the way up to 100, bought at 100, and now are sitting crying, oh my God, it's down again. Now, I understand the question, and the question is very simple. Tom, what should I do now? Should I sell completely out of the stock and wait for it to completely finish crashing and then repurchase it like a trader? Or maybe I should trim a little bit off the top just so I can get some of the profits out. What should I do? Now, you have to understand that for fair disclosure, I have to let you know I have about 40% of my entire portfolio in Palantir. So I am a huge bull of this stock. I'm not some analyst who doesn't care about this stock. I am financially invested in the success of the stock, and it has to be said. Have to be fair about it. But as I'll show in a second, the data doesn't lie. Now, look, I understand why certain traders look at the stock market like a game, like a gambling machine. They look at stocks that are going up, they want to buy them. Stocks going down, they want to sell them. That's just a trader mentality, and there's more than one way to make money in the stock market. I'm not hating on anybody's game. However, the way I play the game and the way my community played the game over the past few years have made us generational money, insane amounts of profits. So we're not going to be chasing stocks up, and we're not going to be selling out of panic when the stocks crash. The one thing I want you to understand here is that price does not matter. Price is irrelevant. Price is not a reason to buy. Price is not a reason to sell. Now, a lot of traders' heads are exploding right now. I get it, but I don't care, because look at my numbers. Google me. I have made a lot of money by following this rule. And I'm not going to change because the stock is down for a few days. A drop in the price is not a reason to sell, just like the stock doubling in price is not a reason to buy. This is not a fundamental reason to own a share. You have to listen to Warren Buffett and these things. Shares are companies. You are buying a piece of a company, a piece of a business as a long-term investor. Of course, if you tell me you're a trader, you shouldn't be watching my channel. But as an investor, you're buying a piece of the business. Now, if you bought a piece of the business and now the share price is down heavily, you have to ask yourself this question. Is this the sort of situation Warren Buffett was talking about when he was saying, well, look, imagine I have a farm and my neighbor has a farm, and every day my neighbor shouts to me what the price of the farm he's willing to buy from me is. And every day he shouts different prices. Hey, I'll buy your farm from you for $1 million. Next day he says 500,000, whatever. Let's say that someday he comes out and says, well, you know what? I'll buy you stuff for $50,000 because he had a bad day. He had a fight with his wife. He's in a bad mood. Does it mean I have to sell him my farm at $50,000 when he offered me $1 million just a week ago and I refused and I think my farm is worth $10 million? No, of course not. He's just an idiot. The market in the short term is exactly that, folks. You have to look at what your farm is worth. Is the thesis for the company is still intact despite the 5-day drop? Did anything change fundamentally about the business that you own? Now, I would also add to this, one of the greats, and I'm a disciple of Aswath Damodaran, who is one of the greats in valuation, and he always says these things. When you value a company, you have to look at two things, fundamentals and the story. And you can't ignore either. You have to understand the story, the moat, the business model, the potential, but also the fundamentals, the numbers, right? And you have to look at both. Now, let's look at both and see if anything has changed with Palantir over the past 5 days. Let's be honest here, right? Now, I'm going to be using Stock MVP, stock-mvp.com. It's a platform that I've built for you guys, which you can get on right now and use. And if you've lasted this long in the video, I'm going to give you a coupon code, BF35, to get it 35% off. It's a tool that basically allows you to do what I'm about to show you right now. And based on the Stock MVP scorecard, which aggregates all the fundamentals of a company and gives it one score, 0 to 100, Palantir scores 90. It includes a lot of things like scalability, profitability, all the good stuff you want from a company as an investor. 90 out of 100 is probably one of the highest scores we have ever recorded. With the exception of Meta and Nvidia, I think Palantir is the third highest score on this card. And it's not by accident because the fundamentals are terrific. Over the past 3 years, they grew revenue by massive amounts. Over the past year, 30% revenue growth. EBITDA growth, 170% over the past 3 years. Net income up 190% over the past 3 years. Free cash flow over the past 3 years grown by 255%. Cash is up 100%. Debt is only up 4%. That is with 80% gross margin and a 40% free cash flow margin. Now, they also have a massive moat, completely monopolistic at this point. And if you don't understand that, I suggest you watch some of my prior videos explaining why Palantir is a quasi-monopoly, essentially without any competitors, and a rule of 40 of 81. Now, it has a forward price to earnings of 192. That is a massive valuation. Nobody can justify that saying it's cheap. Not even me. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that this is a cheap valuation. It's not. It's an expensive company. It's selling at a huge premium. But in my opinion, it's doing that for a reason. It's doing that because people understand this is the next Microsoft, the next trillion-dollar company, the operating system of American and global businesses that work on AI. They have no competitors, and they have the potential to go to $1 trillion, which is about 5x from here. Now, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable they'll do a 5x from here over the next 10 years? Sure. Is it guaranteed? No. There are no guarantees in life. Even tomorrow is not guaranteed. And there's definitely no guarantees in the stock market. The only thing that's guaranteed in this world is that, A, we're all going to die eventually, and we're all going to pay taxes. Except that, nothing is guaranteed, not even Palantir. And as an investor, you have to acknowledge that there is risk with investing in a volatile stock like Palantir. And that brings me to my next point. And that point being that this ain't our first rodeo. Palantir has a history of this manic depressive behavior as a stock. It's a stock with almost 3 beta, which means that for every 1% the market moves, it moves 3%. And it's great when the times are great. You know, one of them ex-girlfriends you had, when things were great, it was the best ever. But when things were bad, it was absolutely horrendous. That is Palantir, right? So 3x on the market, meaning every 1%, you have a 3% volatility. That's why it went from 35 to 6 when times got bad. That is why it went from 6 to 120 when things got good. Short term, Palantir have always punished the traders and the speculators and people who try to time the market with the stock. And it has always rewarded long-term holders who invest in the stock and believe in the stock and hold it and buy it across a few years. Nothing has changed. Now, my community, if you look in my Discord, if you look at my Patreon, patreon.com/Tom Nash. My community is not worried at all. Why is that the case? The main reason is because even though not all of them made 10x on their money, like myself and some others, most of them are sitting at 3, 4, 5x on their money even after this huge drop because they followed the system and because they actually had the balls to do the toughest thing in investing, which is to buy when there is blood on the streets, when the fear, as in fear and greed index, is in max fear, when everybody is negative, when the sentiment goes to the toilet. Now, can Palantir drop to $50 per share, $40 per share? It certainly can. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it can't happen. It can happen easily. But the thing is, we are going to use that to buy more. We're going to use that to dollar cost average and lower our cost basis. So in 3 years, in 2028, when people are saying, oh, remember where you could buy Palantir at 50, 60, 70, 80? Oh my God, these guys were smart. They bought it. And before you go and mortgage your house and jump all into Palantir right now, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm not telling you to go and buy Palantir. That's not the point. I'm saying that if you've done the analysis and you decided that this stock is fundamentally good for you as a long-term investment, follow the rules. The rules are not to lump sum. A lot of people have been asking me, well, Tom, now that it's dropped, it's time to massively buy. I'm going to buy a lot. No, that's not the way. The way is to buy slowly. If you have a lump sum of money, a big pile of cash, deploy it over the next 24 months. If you are following my system, which I teach in my academy, which I'll talk about in a second, then budget your way to your monthly DCA amount and follow that. And do it slowly, piece by piece, so that you can catch that $6 and you can ride it all the way up and sit here 3 years later with 4, 5, 6, or 10x on your money. Now, you want to target these dips. You don't want to lump sum into them, just like you don't want to be fearful from them. You want to be strategic. We don't have an emotional connection with Palantir. I'm not married to the stock. The minute the thesis changes, I'm going to be out there faster than a rat from a sinking ship. I don't care. But right now, the fundamentals are solid, but the price is dropping, which means that for me and my students and my academy, right now is double down time. We take our monthly DCA amount and we increase it, and we buy a little bit more. We don't lump sum in, we don't sell off, we just remain stoic, analytical, and continue to do the system that have generated a lot of money for me and my community. Now, if you want to get away from all this noise, from all these guys who are trying to confuse you with the clickbait thumbnails and the mainstream media and the panic and the fear and all this confusion, telling you to trade and charting lines and telling you that they can time the bottoms and the tops because this channel looks like this, all this garbage. If you want to get away from all of this, have peace of mind, relax, have absolutely zero concerns, zero panic, zero anxiousness, and just do this for the next 3 years. Look back in 2028 and say, hey, that was a good plan. Join us. Patreon.com/Tom Nash. We'd love to see you there in our academy. A few spots left. As always, thank you so much for spending these few minutes with me. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Stay cool.